Sounds good.
Welcome, Realm family, to another episode of Wrestling with the Realm podcast. I'm Brian, one half of the Power and Glory of Wrestling podcast, and on the other side, he is the Hercules to my Paul Roma. It's my guy Will. Will, what are we talking about today?
Guys, we are doing a Las Vegas WrestleMania 41 trip review for Brian.
Yep.
First, I want to get this out the way. It's good to be back. This is the longest break me and Brian have taken
Hmm.
from wrestling with the Realm. Even
Pretty
though
weird.
yeah, it was weird. For a little bit there, it did not feel that way. Brian was out there killing it in Vegas with the short form content. If you have not seen that yet, it should be on our YouTube shorts or on our TikTok, same as here on YouTube, Wrestling with the Realm podcast. So shout out to Brian, because if you haven't seen that stuff yet, it is great. It really is. It's some of our best work in general. So please go check that out. Give us a follow on TikTok, leave a like on it. But Brian, where do you want to start, man? Where do you want to start on this review?
I'll start out kind of what you were just talking about. I want to thank everybody out in Vegas who I got a chance to connect with, got to talk to you guys, got to play some rounds of overrated, underrated, was super fun. I think everybody was having a good time with it. Um, so if I got to talk to you, if I interviewed you, if you got onto one of our shorts, thank you guys. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad that everybody had a good time interacting. It was a really cool communal experience, and that's probably the best place to start. Um, First of all, if anybody can still hear, I sound like I'm a little under the weather. Uh, Vegas was a lot of fun and came with a lot of trying to get over some stuff once we got back, man. It was a good time. Uh, but yeah, it was such a the first thing we noticed when we got there, if anybody watched the TV show Las Vegas, or you guys can go find it. It's on Peacock now, so go check that out. Las Vegas, great show. Um, Anybody who watched that show, it's essentially Baywatch, but it's in Vegas, and they work for security and surveillance. Love that show. It's one of my favorites. But one thing that they do a lot on that show is at the main hotel casino, the Montecito that show takes place at. Um, it's very exaggerated Vegas. So some episodes it'll be like a sci-fi convention is in town, and the whole town and the whole casino is just filled with sci-fi convention people, and it's palpable. This was the closest thing to an episode of Las Vegas that my wife and I have ever been there for. And I mean that in a good way. Like right when we got there, we were like, holy cow, this feels like an episode of Vegas. That we're literally, it's WrestleMania, all the wrestling fans are in town, and you could feel it. It was a really cool communal experience. Everybody was having fun. I feel like the WWE fans and wrestling fans in general, I think that everybody put a good foot forward. Nobody, there's no stories coming out that people were terrible and, horrible things were happening. Everybody was super respectful. Everybody had a good time and was just trying to enjoy the weekend. Um, and I think everybody did. That being said, I don't know if the WWE and Vegas mix well. What I mean by that is we'll get into it when Will and I do our WrestleMania 41 review. I think we'll touch on it a little bit more, and we may be making references to WrestleMania 9. So if you haven't watched our WrestleMania 9 retro rewatch, go back and watch that because I have a feeling history with Vegas and WWE kind of repeats itself. Um, but I think that WWE tries to put out such a big product and they really were swinging for the fences where you have events starting on Thursday all the way through Tuesday, ending with NXT at Fountain Blue. You know, you have everything from SmackDown and Undertaker one-man shows, the Roast, the Hall of Fame, WrestleMania nights 1 and 2, Raw, then NXT. They had all of these big events that they were really swinging for the fences, but because of the sheer size and volume of what they were doing, I think they were hitting some doubles. They weren't really able to connect and really present everything the way that I think they wanted to. And it's not that what they were presenting wasn't good because it was. It was just a lot and it's a little bit spread out. And if you wanted to do a lot of those things, it was difficult. Now, the one thing I can't speak to is I can't speak to all of the wrestling fans who are doing the non-WWE things. You had WrestleCon there. You had a lot of independent promotions doing things. So I would love to hear from you guys. If you guys were in Vegas and you guys were doing some of that stuff that wasn't the WWE centered things, let us know. Leave some comments and let us know what you guys thought about that. We tried to stick to the WWE stuff. So trying to do that, it was it was difficult to try to do as much stuff that we wanted to do and, have a really good time doing it and have time for other things. So it was a lot, and WWE really, really tried to knock it out of the park. But I think Vegas is so big and expansive with what you can do that I think they were just stretched a little bit thin, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. And what I was kind of thinking as you're talking about all of this is, I mean, especially with TKO ownership, they are just trying to make as much money as possible,
Mhm.
and that's a hot topic right now amongst wrestling fans with Triple H and The Rock and all that stuff. But they are trying to make as much money as possible. So having all these events and you only have the same group of fans there that are there for wrestling. They are here and then they are there and then they get to these events like WrestleMania 41 and the crowd then is just kind of probably dead
Hmm.
tired.
Yep.
They are dead tired because first of all, you're in Vegas. There is so much to do there in and of itself. You're
Yep.
probably up late doing whatever you do in Vegas. I have not been there myself, but and then
We're
you're
gonna get you
waking
there,
up.
buddy.
Yes, I'm gonna one day, me and Brian will do a Vegas trip. But then you're waking up. You're going to stand and deliver. You're gonna go hit an indie show. Then you're gonna go and you might be going to WrestleMania right after that. There's count and then after WrestleMania, you could be going to the roast.
Yep.
There's so much to do. And it felt like then you get this group of fans that are at the arena and they are just tired. And that was kind of a huge complaint from the IWC, which I mean, they just complain. But that's
Sure.
beside the point. That the crowd is just dead tired and they don't seem like they care. And there's so many big moments and the crowd just doesn't seem to care for them, well, it's probably because, they're exhausted. They really are. So, it's interesting you say that because I kind of got that feeling too. But hey, it's not like TKO cares about that. They care about the money that they are making. And I'm sure all of that stuff that you're talking about, the Fountain Blue, NXT, even the roast, the Raw after WrestleMania, all this stuff, even like the Undertaker Deadman shows, like those are all sold out. They are
Yep.
making the money they need off of this. So, it's interesting you say that.
Yeah, and it was weird too because watching NXT, so interesting bookends with going to Stand and Deliver on Saturday morning, which was awesome. That was actually a really good show. Like that was
Yeah.
such a
Yeah,
it
it
was a
was.
good way for us to start out our trip. That was our first event that we were doing Saturday morning, and it was a lot of fun. I thought that the NXT show, I thought that may have been the highlight of the wrestling shows, may have been Stand and Deliver. Controversial take. We'll get into it in our WrestleMania 41 review.
Yeah.
Um, it was a lot of fun. It was a really live show. Everybody was into it, and I could tell everybody was just jazzed. It kind of had that uh Vegas Golden Knights playoff atmosphere, which it did. They had their first home playoff game on Sunday night too, so it was an awesome trip for me because I was getting everything from every direction. Go Knights. Um, so the city was kind of lit and everybody was really jazzed at that Stand and Deliver show. By the time we got to Tuesday with the NXT show at Fontainebleau, I could tell that the same wrestling fans who had stuck out until Tuesday, they were ready to go home. They were
Hmm.
they were tired. They had exhausted themselves on the weekend of wrestling, and you could kind of feel that. And again, it's not WWE's fault. They were swinging for the fences. Vegas is a location where you can do this stuff. I just think they stretched themselves thin with a lot of the extra shows that they were doing, like the Undertaker one-man show, the Roast of Wrestlemania, which we'll get into in a minute. I think that less days, a little bit less of those ancillary events probably would have helped them, but I'm going to look back on this trip and I'm going to be talking about it. That was awesome because it was WrestleMania in Vegas. But just a little bit of nitpicking when I'm looking at it, trying to be objective. If you're a casual fan, that I'm sure there were some people who, the real fanatical people, probably don't have those same problems. And like I said, there's a lot of other wrestling things you could have done. But if you wanted to stick to the WWE stuff like I was, um, it was hard to get a lot of that stuff in. And the store made us mad because one day we looked online on WWE's own site for the store. Believe they were saying it was open till midnight the one night. That's what their site said. We got there just before 3 o'clock. No signage. They did not do a very good job putting up signage or anything like that when you get to the convention center, which again isn't a big deal because it's not like it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's over by Fontainebleau, it's by Circus and stuff. It's not like it's far away, but you still got to get there. Um, and it's a long way to walk from one end of that building to the other. There's no signs. So we walk to one end because somebody said the store is down there. You can't get in on that end. Have to walk all the way back. Then we go inside and the security person is telling us, "Oh, the store closed at 3." Many other people were walking in and being told the same thing. And we're like, we're going off of what you guys told us. One, there's no sign saying any of the times. So that really irritated us that day. That was not a fun time that afternoon because all I wanted was my John Cena shirt. All I wanted was my John Cena Las Vegas shirt. Couldn't get it. Was very upset about that their timing, there was no signage or anything, so they could have done better. I don't know if that's on the convention center or if that's on WWE or who actually runs that aspect of it, but they could have done a better job with that. Um, then because I was thinking, I was like, oh wait, maybe if we go on Monday to T-Mobile Arena, even though we're not going to go into Raw, they usually have like the souvenir truck and stuff out there outside of
Yeah.
it. So I was like, let's go do that. So we were at Luxor, so we're not far away. I mean, that's fine down on that end. It's not very spread out. So everything at T-Mobile Arena was pretty cool because it's not that far and you can walk to it easily. So we walk over. They have the souvenir trailers out there. They have the John Cena shirt. Great. I picked the wrong line, of course, the one that doesn't move. And like three people in front of us, I see him take the John Cena shirt down off the wall. So I go up there to look. Of course, it's sold out now. So I don't get my John Cena shirt.
Criminal.
So yeah, so the next shirt up that they're peddling is the Last Real Champ shirt, which I didn't want. I just wanted my John Cena Vegas shirt, and I didn't get it. So I was sad about that. Um, but let's get into the roast of WrestleMania now because there was a whole bunch to get into with that.
All right,
Uh,
let's do it.
I think Will might have got my short up. I did a quick clip while we were there. I just wanted to get
Yeah.
something out, just giving my initial thoughts. So you guys can check that out on TikTok and our YouTube channel. We'll get it up. Uh, okay, so the roast of WrestleMania, they're never doing another one. I'll put that out there right now. It's never happening again. For everybody who is leaking video of the roast of WrestleMania, don't do that. Like we had to lock our phones up. Anybody who's putting the footage out there, you're ruining it that we can have nice things and we're not going to be able to do this again. Now, granted, I don't think it was ever going to happen again anyways, because anybody who says it was chaotic and kind of thrown together, they're not lying. They're not wrong. The event started almost 2 hours late from when it was supposed to, which do the math on this. Show's supposed to start at 9:30. That's after night two of WrestleMania, and they do their post show now that we know lasts 3 hours. So I'm doing the math. How could you possibly think that this roast is going to start at 9:30 when you already know you have your post WrestleMania post show? So right there, I'm like, I know the show's not starting at 9:30. It started almost 2 hours late. The only thing that was remotely entertaining before that is that I was killing in our section by making jokes about when the show's actually going to start and then putting graphics on the screen. So pat myself on the back that I was funny and I was keeping people entertained. Uh, so show starts 2 hours late. Tony Hinchcliffe was great, which is to be expected because he's the one putting it together. He is a roast comedian, he's an insult comedian, so you expect his stuff to be good. Uh, Interestingly enough, Braun Strowman was there. Braun Strowman got released today. So
Yeah, crazy.
so there's that. Um, and Braun was great. Braun Strowman was so happy to be there. I can't I can't convey to you guys enough that he seemed like a really nice guy who was having a really good time and was really happy to be there. I don't necessarily want to say that he was doing anything roast related because he was more or less just very happy to be there, which
Yeah.
was nice in and of itself. Um, you had McAfee there. McAfee was one of the first ones to come out. Um, I have lots of thoughts on Pat. When we get into our WrestleMania 41 review, I know I'm saying that a lot, guys, but when we get into that, I need to know if Will is starting to turn on Pat a little bit because I am. I've dubbed Pat McAfee New Gorilla Monsoon, and he is, but he's starting to spin out a little bit. He's starting to go from being cutesy Gorilla Monsoon to something more wacky that I don't know if it fits. And it doesn't help when Wade Barrett is on commentary next to him because Wade Barrett might be the GOAT right now. And maybe that's a hot take for me to say that, but Wade Barrett is
Oh,
really,
I
really,
love
really good on commentary.
I
Um,
love Barrett. I
yeah.
love Barrett. And he's doing a great job with Joe Tessitore on SmackDown. I was watching SmackDown last night. I'm like, they got the old school little banter thing going. You don't
Hmm.
see that as much anymore where they're arguing on
Yep.
commentary. I love it, but that's besides the point.
No, but it Wade is really good, so I'm glad that he was on the Mania commentary. Pat was at the roast. If you guys watched the Pat McAfee show the next day on Monday morning or whatever it was, and Paul Heyman was on there, I don't want to say too much about what went on and what people said and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to do that to those guys because comedy and roast, there's an unspoken rule between comedians in situations like that. It's comedy, it's on the stage, so I have no problems with anything. You're not going to offend me when it comes to comedy. That is, I got none of that. Um, but if you guys watched Pat McAfee's show on Monday and Paul Heyman went up there, everything that Paul Heyman said about Pat is 100% true. 100%. the truth of what happened at the roast. Pat had his eyes closed for probably about 40 minutes. There was a certain point uh, where somebody did say, gosh, I'm trying to think who it was, who just got on the mic and said, I would just like Pat to repeat back the last 5 words that were said. And because his eyes are closed, he has no idea what's going on. So it was funny for Pat, but he was kind of out of it. Um, Paul Heyman was great. Paul Heyman stole the show. Paul Heyman is so old school, especially when it comes to like comedy or a roast. He knows what that entails, and he came to play. He had jokes worked out that work for a roast, uh, that he was going at with the Miz. It was great. Uh, the Miz was great. I thought
The
Miz
Miz
was
is
really
great.
good.
Yeah, the Miz is great.
And for me and my wife, again, it's very funny because for us, the Miz is the MTV guy. Like he's like we're like, oh, is Trishelle gonna come out too? That'd be really funny, because to us he's the MTV guy. And I was explaining to her that God, it is wild to think about that. To just if you didn't know, if you were, under a rock for 15 years and you watched him on MTV, fast forward to today, your mind would be blown. Um, so Miz was there and Miz was great. Uh, Our Truth was fantastic. Our Truth is a funny, funny guy. He has comic timing. He knows how to tell a joke. Um, and when I say a joke, I mean when you sit down and you tell somebody a joke, somebody walks into a bar and then you do the joke. Like he was able to tell jokes that are constructed that way, and they were killer. He was really great. Um, Nia Jax. Let's talk about Nia Jax for a second at the roast. So, kiddies, when you do a roast, you're supposed to be comically insulting the other people who are on stage. You can take some strays at some other people if it's pertinent to what the comedy roast is about. This is about WrestleMania, so all things wrestling around the table. I don't think Nia Jax understands what a roast is because she went up there and just turned it into a shoot. She it was like Festivus for her. She was airing her grievances. She went up there, she let the fans know. You guys didn't like me when I was hurting people, did you? And it's like, well, no, we didn't like you when you were hurting people. Like that's a weird flex to have. Uh, so like it was so like Nia Jax came out
Oh.
and was just essentially shooting on people, and it got real towards the end. I won't go too much into that, but enough that even Tony Hinchcliffe at a certain point is kind of doing the thing where like he's sitting at the dinner table and mom and dad are arguing and nobody knows how to react. And he was just kind of like, this this isn't how we're supposed to be doing this. So Nia Jax was very interesting. There was one comedian came out. I can't remember what his name is. I think he's one of the Tony Hinchcliffe guys. Um, he did 90% on Nia Jax before she came out. Like, however much time he was up there, 90% of it was aimed at Nia Jax, and he kept calling her Nia Jax the whole time. He called her Nia Jax until when he was finally done, and Tony Hinchcliffe was like, her name is Nia, by the way. Um, so he's going on and on about Nia Jax, and it felt really weird and out of place because, again, generally, you spread it around to everybody who's out there for the roast. Um, but that was another thing that was odd about it, is normally at a roast, you bring everybody out onto the stage, so they're all sitting there. So when you're throwing barbs back and forth, people can, you know, yuck it up and interact. They were bringing people out like one at a time. So the whole format seemed odd. It was funny, don't get me wrong, but it was also sometimes it was funny because things weren't going the way it was supposed to. Um,
Yeah.
but this comedian's going on and on about Nia Jax, and some of it was funny, but some of it just kept going too long, and it started to get a little bit weird why he was focusing on her so much. Triple H came out at the end. At the very end of it, Trip comes out to try to wrap the whole thing up. And I was kind of happy that he kind of went at that comedian who was really focused on Nia Jax and kind of helped her out a little bit and kind of, shot some barbs at this guy about it. And I was kind of like, good. I'm glad he was kind of defending her a little bit because it
Yeah.
seemed it seemed a little bit more out of line than it should have been for a roast, how preoccupied he was with her. Um, so I was glad that Triple H kind of defended her a little bit. That was kind of nice to see. Uh, Highlight of the roast, Paul Heyman is finishing up doing his thing, and what had to be a surreal moment for him as he's hitting his last punchline. I'm Paul Heyman. I'm leaving the roast. I'm out of here. Good day, good night. As he's walking away, roller skating past him is my guy Carrot Top onto the stage, roller skating, trying to keep his balance. He has
Uh,
one giant foam muscular arm on that he wore earlier at the Golden Knights game because he started the Golden Knights game doing the siren before the game, still wearing his foam arm, comes roller skating out past Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman kind of stops and just kind of looks horribly confused on what's going on, why Carrot Top is here. Carrot Top goes and sits down, promptly takes a tablecloth off of one of the side tables to wrap it around his waist when he sat down because he was wearing his Daisy Dukes. Like it was a surreal moment for everybody on stage, except for two people in the crowd who were cheering as loud as they could, me and my wife, because our guy Carrot Top was at the roast because I had mentioned, I think I said something to you before we left. I was like, maybe Carrot Top will be there. He's
yeah,
Mr. Las
you did.
Vegas. Um, so sure enough, Carrot Top shows up and he really didn't have a whole lot to say out there, which was weird because it's a roast. So you're expecting people to interact. Um, it was so odd. The next night at Carrot Top show, because we always have to see our guy Carrot Top. Um, we like to sit in we have our two seats that we sit right in the front at. Um, so Carrot Top comes down, sees me, comes down to give me a hug, and we take a picture. And I'm like, it's during the show, and I was like, we were at the roast last night. I was like, I have so many questions for you about it. And he was like, okay, well, what do you got? It's like they like stop the music and stuff at the Carrot Top show so me and him can have our conversation because that's how we roll. Um, I was like, I need to know when they called you. I was like, when did they call you to be at that roast? He was like, they literally called me during the day. And we're like, hey, do you want to come do this roast tonight? That's how thrown together it was that they still didn't have people locked down on who was actually going to be there. Um, so I had a few other questions that I didn't get a chance to get answered, but I have them in my shorts. So Carrot Top, if you see this, I have some other questions, buddy. I need to know a lot that was going on. I need to know what the vibe in the back was because I have a feeling the vibe was very weird in the back because you have wrestlers who are not comedians doing a roast with people saying things that they may not understand is just for a roast. So I need to know what the vibe in the back was. One, Triple H comes out at the very end and he's just like, are we paying Carrot Top to be here? Why is Carrot Top here? And I'm like, oh, boo. We don't got to pick on Carrot Top. But I think everything was cool after that because I saw that him and Trip had pictures and stuff. So I hope that that got worked out. But, you know, if you ever make a trip to Vegas, make sure you guys go see Carrot Top. It's going to be the best show that you see there. Tickets are horribly reasonable. It is a great show. You will not be disappointed. I cannot recommend my guy Carrot Top more. So that was fun to see him at the roast. Uh, NXT, again, the NXT Stand and Deliver show was great. I thought that was probably the wrestling highlight of the whole weekend. And, it I don't know if they will be back for a WrestleMania in Las Vegas. Let's say it that way. Will, based off of everything that you've kind of seen, you weren't there, so you kind of had this uh, being a little bit removed from it, seeing it unfold. I'm sure on social media and stuff, you're seeing what's going on. Like what was your take? Like not being there, but just seeing it and kind of hearing the things that I was saying.
Well, outside of the overall review of the WrestleMania being pretty low because people just did not like the ending. Um, I just don't think they'll ever go back. Sometimes you get your chance. Like
Yeah.
the last 2 years, they always say Philadelphia is a wrestling city. They are not. They are not. They've never like I get the whole ECW thing with Paul Heyman and they love Paul Heyman. They had a chance last year at WrestleMania 40 to show that they are a wrestling crowd. They sucked. They won't be back for any huge shows in Philadelphia. Vegas is kind of a destination city. Um, so if they got like a SummerSlam, I would
Hmm.
be like, yeah, that makes sense. Or a Royal Rumble, but never again a WrestleMania. It's your biggest show of the year, and you guys need more of a live crowd that's going to be active. And I just don't think that Vegas provided that. And that was kind of the overall takeaway is like you had so many big moments that that crowd just didn't get up for. So yeah, but outside of that, like the city does always kind of, and we said this in WrestleMania 9, the presentation was
Hmm.
good for all the shows for the most part. Like the stage at 41 was good. The overall like just kind of appearance of the show was good. And we said that in WrestleMania 9. So
Yeah.
and you're there more than I am. That's your city. Like they always kind of show out. The presentation's amazing there. So overall, I think it was a good overall weekend for them. And I just don't know if they'll ever be back from Mania, like you said.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like one of the coolest things I will say that the thing that Vegas provided probably the most of, I'm sure that the superstars loved it.
yeah,
Um, so at Fountain Blue, it seemed like a majority of the superstars were staying at Fountain Blue. Um, I will say that one of the cooler aspects of it being in Vegas at a place like that, because when you're in Vegas and you're on vacation, you can just walk into everywhere on the strip. So it's kind of like I always tell people that's the best part of a Golden Knights game because you're on vacation. You don't have to go park a car and walk to a stadium or an arena or anything like that. You can be in New York gambling. It's time for the game. You walk out the door, you walk down the path into Toshiba Center, go into T-Mobile, and then when the game is over, it's right back to your vacation. We always go into Park MGM because that's next door. Like, it's such a good environment to do that. That at Fountain Blue, because a lot of the superstars are staying there,
yeah,
they're just like us. They're on vacation too. They're around. So it was really cool. At Fountain Blue in the middle of the casino, they have like a bar. It's not a club, but it's a big round bar, but they do have like seating areas that go around the perimeter that you can rent and you can sit and they have couches and stuff, but it's open air. And that's where a lot of the superstars would be hanging out. I think I sent Will a picture the one night. It was like LA Knight and Jade Cargill, and I think Jimmy Uso might have been there. Like right,
yeah,
like we're playing a slot machine, and Maxine Dupree and her boyfriend and stuff. Like they're just like standing there because they're getting ready to go into the bar. So like it was cool to be around the superstars as human beings and seeing
yeah,
them in a regular environment Um, where I'm sure sometimes if you are in Philadelphia, if you see them, it's a different thing because there's a little bit more of a buffer. In Vegas, there's no buffer because their hotel is your hotel. The casino that
Yeah.
you're in is the same casino that they're playing in. Um, like Joe Hendry, like we were walking to rideshare with Joe Hendry, and fans were pretty cool and pretty respectful, which made me feel good that everybody was super respectful for them or towards them. Uh, and it was just cool to see them. I will say this, people are smaller in real life. JD McDonough, it was kind of funny because people were waiting at Fountain Blue the one day. I think it was night two because it was the roast night. And people were kind of hanging out by the valet when people would come in, just to catch a glimpse of who they could see. And people are waiting for people to come through. And it was William Regal came through, and you can't miss him. And he was cool. He was taking pictures and stuff. We walked with him kind of like all the way to the roast. I'm not the person that says things or tries to get a picture or anything like that. It's just cool to be like, oh, there's William Regal. He seems like a nice guy. JD McDonough goes walking by. Nobody notices. And I was like, oh, JD McDonough is back. And like he's got his hat on backwards. JD McDonough is a small human being. I was shocked at how small JD McDonough was. Um, like Shotzi is just like hanging. I'm like, okay, you guys are waiting to see superstars. You're not going to not notice Shotzi. Nobody seemed to notice. It was the wildest thing, but that was one of the cooler aspects is to be able to see some of the superstars in their natural environment. Like all of us and people were respectful. So it was neat because you got to be, especially for me, because we were in our town in Vegas that we love, and we got to see some of these people that we watch every week enjoying the same things that we do in Vegas. So that was something that was super cool that you're not going to get at another location. Um, yeah, it was a good fun weekend, and I think WWE needs to scale it back if they want to try to do that next time. Simplify things and make it a little bit easier for the fans to get as much in as they can because there was a lot to do. But that goes with any type of convention or weekend. So maybe I shouldn't nitpick so much.
Did you see they released Lash Legends tag team partner,
Yes, which,
Jakar Jackson?
okay.
What?
So they broke up the Meta Girls. That's fine. Is I just was like feverishly reading. I was like, Lash Legend's name better not be on there, and thankfully it was not. Um, because everybody knows me and you are some Lash Legend fans. Like Lash is the real deal.
Uh,
Hopefully that means she's going to be getting a call up, and
or
we're
a
just
singles
moving her.
push.
Yeah, exactly. And we're just going to be using her that way. So, but yeah, that's the Braun Strowman was weird too. I'm like, I see. I would love to know more about that stuff because it was like they brought Braun Strowman back strictly to work with Jacob Fatu for that angle. So I wonder what his contract actually looked like when he just came back this time. Because, right, like that's what it seems
He
like.
might retire.
Like it just seemed like he was there for a very specific purpose.
So yeah, he really early in his career, he's like 40% paralyzed in one leg.
Is he really?
Yeah, he
Really?
cannot move. So I'm wondering if he's just gonna call it a career.
Yeah, okay. He
He might.
seemed like a super cool dude. Like
Oh
dude
yeah, he
was
is.
so, and isn't he from Waukesha or something, or he lived in
Yeah, no,
Waukesha?
he's from
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a
So,
huge like Packers fan and everything.
you
He's
know, so it was like he seemed really cool. Like I was like, oh, he's so happy. Like he was so happy to be there at the roast and just seemed like a genuinely nice human being. Um, And he was nice to Carrot Top. Him and Carrot Top were yucking it up because they were down at that end of the stage. So I was like, Braun can't be all that bad. Oh, Sami Zayn came out too. So Sami Zayn was at the roast. I think I told you that, but I didn't tell everybody else that. Sami Zayn was at the roast, which was interesting because Sammy does comedy. Sammy doesn't do this kind of comedy. So they had to, it was genius what they did. He had all of his notes of his jokes and gave us a whole reason why he can't do these jokes. I can't come out here and I can't say these things. I'm sorry, everybody. I know you guys want to see me do. I'm doing my best Sami Zayn right now. I'm sorry. I can't do these jokes, you guys. It's not going to work. So then Tony Hinchcliffe is like, I can read them for you. So then Tony Hinchcliffe read all of Sammy's jokes so that way Sammy's not saying these horrible things. But Sammy is sitting there, and there is a certain point where I think he was like in between Miz and so I'm trying to think of everybody, all the superstars who came out was Pat, Miz, Braun Strowman, R-Truth, Sami Zayn, Nia Jax, that Paul Heyman. But Heyman didn't kind of stay. He came out, lit everybody up, and then split. Oh, that's the other thing too. Like with Nia Jax, where I said she was shooting instead of roasting. When Paul Heyman was done doing his set, he goes over and he gives The Miz a big hug because The Miz and The Miz's wife were a lot of the targets of Paul Heyman's jokes. And again, because Heyman's really good, he
Mhm.
understands like he was kind of an old school. Like if anybody has ever seen the old commercials on TV where you could purchase like the old Friars Club roasts of like Frank Sinatra and stuff. Go on YouTube, you guys, and just look that up. Just like look up old Friars Club roasts, and you'll see clips of back in the day how the old school comedians used to do it. Paul Heyman was very much that, and it was super refreshing, especially for a comedy person like me. Like it was fun to see. But he goes and he's giving Miz a hug, and you could see all of this. The harder you roast somebody is usually the people you care about more because
Yeah.
that's why you're hitting them so hard. Nia Jax didn't have a whole lot of that. She was interested in shooting some strays at people, and she got her shots out. And I'm not saying it was bad or good. It just showed me something about Nia Jax that I didn't previously know. So when she came out last week and attacked Tiffany Stratton, I was like, I got a whole new thing with Nia Jax now. Like I feel like I know her in a completely different way than what I did before. Um, Same thing with Sami Zayn. I've been saying for a while that Sami Zayn's gosh, I'm just so nice routine that he does was starting to grate on me. My wife and I both are like, we like Sami Zayn now. Like he
But
seemed like, oh,
good.
Sami's a really cool dude. Like it's interesting in certain situations where you really get a beat on a person. And I could tell Sammy really just genuinely is just a really nice guy. Um, so it was fun to see him out there, but it was also very funny to see him squirming because he realized at a certain point, I hope nobody sees this. Like maybe I shouldn't be out here doing this. Not because of
Yeah.
what I'm saying, but because of everything else that's going on stage right now. This might not
Yeah.
be the best look for me. I guess Linda McMahon was there.
Oh
So
God.
we didn't see her because of where we were sitting, to see exactly who was down closer. Um, but apparently Linda was there and she was not impressed by some of the stuff that was being said. Um, it's never happening again. They're never gonna have another roast of WrestleMania. It was a good idea. It's way too hot for them to be trying to do that. I guess it was the right place to do it. Again, you're in Vegas, so let's try this. But it was getting zesty up in there, and yeah, it was a whole thing, but fun.
Good. Good. I'm good. I'm happy you had a good time down in your city, man.
Yeah,
It's neat that we started this up, and then the first WrestleMania we are doing together is in your city. So
awesome.
just great timing. Great
It was
timing.
like kismet. And again, I want to thank everybody who I talked to there. Um, you guys got the first run of our business cards with our awesome little QR code on it to come
Yeah.
over to Wrestling with the Realm podcast. You guys were all super cool. Everybody that we talked to, all the fans that we were around, everybody really did seem like they were enjoying themselves and having a good time. After the roast, there was one fan who we talked to, um, and he was a fan of mine, not because of the podcast, but because when you go to the roast, we had to lock up our phones and you had to take your smartwatch off. So you couldn't have your smartwatch on. Which I'm wondering if that's how some people got through with getting video, is if they had one of those weird, not an Apple or a Samsung, some other crazy knockoff smartwatch that they were able to get some audio or video because I don't know how people did that. It was weird. Um, but I don't roll with a smartwatch. Anybody who knows, I have my 80s Casio watch. I love 80s watch because I love the 80s. So they were like, "Ah, your watch." I was like, "80s watch, man." And they were like, "All right." So nobody knew what time it was in there. When we're sitting there waiting for the show to start, nobody has a watch, nobody has a phone. It's Vegas. Hey, everybody in Vegas, we don't put clocks in the casinos because we don't want you to know what time it is and how much time you've spent spending your money. So I became the unofficial time person for our whole section. For our whole level, I became the time guy. Does anybody have a watch? And I did. So there was one person who he became my biggest fan. One, because I'm funny, and two, because I had the watch. So afterwards, he had to come up and he had to thank me for being able to keep everybody abreast of the time. This guy had a killer Hogan impersonation. He was like, "You got a podcast?" He was like, "I happen to know the person who does the best Hogan impersonation." And I was like, "Who is it? Is it you?" And he was like, "It is." He went into his Hogan impersonation. Will, it was really, really good.
Man.
So if you're watching or you're listening, shoot me a comment down there. We'll have you lay down an opening or something for us with Hogan. We'll have to come up with something good.
Oh, yeah, for
Um,
sure. That'll be
dude,
great.
it was really, really good. Like my wife closes her eyes as he's talking. She was like, I I can only picture him. Like it was amazing. It was amazingly good, Will, and I'm hip to the impersonations.
Yes, you are. Yeah, that's a huge
So
compliment coming from you.
like we're like hanging out by the cashier cage at Fountain Blue, and he's putting on his show with his Hogan impersonation. I threw in a little Randy Macho Man Savage, and he was like, "Oh, okay, now we're ooh, baby, ooh, first name Macho, last name Man, huh?" And it was a lot of fun. So thank you everybody who we got to interact with. It was a great weekend for that. It was a communal experience. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad that we did it. I'm glad that our first WrestleMania, like you said, Will, culminated in my city in Vegas. That was like our big blow off for the early stages of Wrestling with the Realm podcast, and we're only going up from here.
That's right. Big year incoming from us at Wrestling with the Realm. So, we are extremely grateful for you guys. Stay tuned. Me and Brian
Mhm.
are hopping on what will be tomorrow,
Yep.
going straight into our
Ooh,
WrestleMania 41 review.
it's gonna be good.
Yes, lots to say, lots to say. We are we're not behind much. There's not a whole lot that's happened in these 2 weeks after Mania outside of the huge stuff happening in the main event scene. So we will give you our thoughts on that later in the week too. Um, I know we had a request for
Oh
a
yeah.
retro rewatch we got to get to. So me and Brian are going to be busy this month
Royal
of May.
Rumble 91.
Yeah,
Somebody wants Rumble 91.
Rumble 91. We're going to get to it. We're going to get to it. We
Yep.
got to catch up with all the current stuff,
Yep.
then hit up Rumble 91. Backlash is already this next Saturday. It feels like it is we're rushing into it a little bit, but um, I'm excited for Orton and Cena. I
I'm
really am.
I'm gonna show my hand slightly for Backlash. I'm kind of hoping The Rock shows up to mess stuff up some more. Like
No,
I've
no.
gone completely around the horn now that I'm coming back the other side, where now it's turning into a car wreck that I can't look away from, or like a tooth that's bothering you in your mouth and you can't leave it alone. You gotta keep playing with it with your tongue. Like that's who The Rock is now. Like now, I just want him to come back in again, mess everything up, and then walk away and go, yeah, well, it's Triple H's fault. Nobody wanted to see the show unless I came back. Like
Yep.
part of me wants to see that beautiful disaster happen again just for the pure comedy of it because people will hate him so much. Oh,
I
I can't.
I just wanted to come out and hit like one of just hit the the thing.
Yes.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to do that and walk
Yep.
away. That's all I need from him.
Bro's
Yeah.
gonna come out. He's gonna come out with Seth Rollins and Braun
Oh my
Breaker, put
God.
a rock bottom on Braun Breaker, put up some signal and whisper in Paul Heyman's ear, walk away, and then never come back again and mention it again, and then we'll just
My
act like it never
God.
happened.
Yes, we need this. We need this.
Like
We need it.
so stupid. Oh man.
That guy. That guy. We showed our hands too much.
Oh
We showed
God.
too much. It's okay though, guys.
Yeah, it is.
Um, or maybe Travis Scott will be there. Who knows? And then we need to hear that god
If
awful song again.
if I have to hear that song one more time, I'm going to put a drill in my temple. That is the worst song I've ever heard in my life. I heard it like there is nothing worse. Fiend, fiend, fiend. It's just the stupidest song. I don't care how many people have downloaded that. You know why so many people have downloaded that song or so many people have listened to it? Because people heard that it was horrible, piece of flaming trash. So they had to hear it to believe it. There's no way people like that song. If you like that song, tell me in the comments below that you actually like that song and I'm just out of touch. I don't believe it exists. Nobody likes that song. It's terrible.
Yeah, awful song. I feel like that might be the worst part of WrestleMania weekend.
Oh,
E-
God.
What's worse, the WrestleMania ending with Travis Scott? Oh, it might be. No, you want to know why it's the ending? Because when Travis Scott came out, he came out to that song. And he
Oh,
stood at the entranceway for like 4 minutes because he wanted the runtime on his song to go all the way through so he can make more money. Awful, awful song,
oh, so
awful
bad.
song.
It's so bad.
Travis Scott should not be anywhere near the WWE ever again. He can go away now. I'm fine.
You know, and again, to show our hand with The Rock, this is how we know The Rock is a liar because The Rock goes out there on Pat McAfee's show and is like, "Oh, I'm so proud of Travis. You know, he's worked so hard. He's just such a big fan." I think Mark is the word he's looking for, and no, he hasn't worked so hard. He didn't do it. I guarantee you, he's put in zero time. You know how I know that? Because he broke Cody's eardrum because he doesn't know what he's doing. Um, and if he has put work in, I'm not impressed. Maybe he should stay away from a wrestling ring. Again, maybe I'm being too hard
Yeah,
on this,
no, you're
but
not.
I don't think
No.
so.
What?
Terrible. You can't get to go out there and say that he's worked really hard. He's just such a big fan. That doesn't mean he should be in a wrestling ring.
Yeah, hard work from a guy that's not in
Hmm.
originally in the WWE is more of a celebrity is like Logan Paul because
Yes.
Logan Paul was phenomenal.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, but we're getting too much into
We are. We are.
WrestleMania,
We're digressing.
WrestleMania 41 review. We'll save it. We'll save
Yep.
it.
You better wrap us up, Will, or we're going to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly, quick shout out to the Realm Paranormal Podcast. Go check them out. Their link is down below. Um, you know, and that's it. I'm Will. That's Brian. Until next time, guys. We'll see you.
See you next time, guys. Peace out. So, and then of course, the next one in line that they're giving everybody for the shirt is the last real champ. Hold on. You want to go out there? Because you heard Betty get up? Okay, hold on a second. Slinky's in here podcasting with me, but now Betty got up. So, okay. Okay, go out by Betty. Good boy. He got mad when I closed the door earlier. He was like, "What are you doing, bro? I want to be in there podcasting." Sits on the couch behind me. Um, why? What happened?
Dude, Jade Cargill licked Naomi. That's some weird, man. We got to keep that out of pro wrestling. Like, got her in the choke slam, just like licked her face. That's some weird. We gotta keep that stuff out of wrestling. What are we doing?
Oh, you
We're
mean she like actually like
yeah, yeah,
licked
like
her, not
licked her.
not like she licked her, like she whooped, like,
No, yeah, no, that was the whole point of why she did it. She was like, I'm gonna get my lick back. She took the extreme. It was weird, man. And she was like, Naomi said on Twitter, she was like, I had to go get a rabies shot after
oh, that's
that.
good.
That's so good, man.
I love this version of Naomi. I wish
There's
that we would have had
like,
this version sooner.
man, that's so good.
Oh,
That's so
I will give one joke because it's kind of a clean joke that somebody did. I can't remember who said it, but it was for Braun Strowman. They said, Braun Strowman looks like a meth lab exploded next to a GNC. I was like, that's good. That's really funny.
yeah, man. I don't.